2024.
Okay.
Yeah, I had some.
I mean, 2018. You know what I'm saying? February 18th, 2018.
I will stipulate that the date is February 18th of 2018. The problem with that testimony, or the problem with that representation from counsel is this incident happened 6 days later.
Right, and that was my point of view. She
So-
testified
so
she
hold
has
on,
the same
hold on.
nails on.
No, Your Honor, she
So-
testified that she got this picture taken on the same day. She testified under oath that at 6 p.m. on February 24th, 2018, this picture was taken. That's false. That is a false statement. Her own attorney admits February 18th of 2018 is the date of this photograph.
Okay. I'm not going to have the jury waiting for this. We're ready to call the next witness.
There's one other issue, Your Honor.
What is that?
I did have a conversation with the witnesses that I have. They're unable to appear today. It's not possible.
Okay. Then you're not going to call him.
I understand that that's the court ruling, but I just want to put on the record as soon as I learned that
Okay.
I cannot produce that.
Streaming for 5 hours, 11.
All right. You want to bring in the jury?
So I'm basically just practicing. People been in and out, get a few people here, a few people there.
That's on top of the house. Wait, hold up.
Because you smell like outside. Love you.
Love you. Oh,
Know your outfit.
yeah.
You did, and we'll be so dumb today. Okay.
All right. Welcome back, everyone. We're still on the record in the Ellis matter. We're now joined by the jury and alternates. At this point in time, we're going to suspend plaintiff's case in chief. We're going to begin the defense case in chief. And does the defense have a witness to call?
Yes, Your Honor.
Defense calls Dr. James Rosenberg.
All right.
I believe maybe in the hallway.
Okay. You want to retrieve him?
Yeah.
Mr. Rosenberg, may I please have you go around?
Oh, I'm sorry, around the other way?
Yes, please. And stand right next to the girlfriend. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly state that the testimony you may give and the cause now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you. May I please have you state and spell your first and last name for the record?
James, James, Rosenberg, Rosenberg.
Perfect. Thank you. You may take a seat. Please watch your step.
Thank you. After I completed my training and came back to my fellowship, I became assistant director of psychiatry at the West Los Angeles VA Medical Center and ran the Locke Psychiatric Intensive Care Unit of UCLA Teaching Service and was there for a few years. I was a member of the UCLA Medical School faculty for 16 years. After I left the VA, because my forensic consultation practice started to get busy, I always continued to see patients at least one day a week unrelated to any legal matter. Most recently, it was 22 years at a nonprofit community mental health clinic in Van Nuys, providing psychiatric evaluation treatment of homeless and low-income individuals. My forensic psychiatry practice, the first half of my career was primarily criminal cases, approximately 200 murders, mass murder, serial criminals, and other types of major crimes. The second half has been primarily civil litigation matters of brain injuries, catastrophic physical injuries with PTSD claims, and employment related matters. I've consulted over the years to the United States Attorney in Washington, D.C. on organized crime in the Eastern District of New York, the Medical Board, the Attorney General, and also for 8 years I was a consultant to the show Law and Order Special Victims Unit.
Thank you. Your Honor, I would like to show Exhibit 220 to the witness. Dr. Rosenberg, it's Exhibit 220 in the blue binder.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm at 220.
Are you familiar with this document?
Yes, this looks like the first page of my resume or.
Yo, Goosey, I be going to jail.
And can you please flip through it and let me know if that's a true, correct copy of your receipt?
Yes, this is the most current version, last updated February 2023.
Thank you. Your Honor, defendant moves to admit Exhibit 220 in that case.
Look like he's taking the lead. You guys don't know this case before because
Have you been retained as an expert on behalf of the defendant Cardi B in this case?
That's my understanding.
And what is it that you were asked to do?
I was asked to conduct a psychiatric evaluation of Ms. Ellis's emotional injury claims related to the incident on February 24th, 2018.
Have you served as a retained expert in previous cases?
Yes, both criminal and civil matters, probably over my career, maybe 1,500 times.
Experts are paid for their time. What is your rate that you charge for the time that you spent working on this case?
So I charge, my base rate is $550 an hour, which is for reviewing records, my face-to-face examination of Ms. Ellis, scoring the psychological testing, and writing a report. My rate for testimony in deposition, which was taken in this case, or trial like today, is $800 an hour, and there's a 4-hour blocks.
Does your fee depend in any way on whether your opinion is favorable to Cardi B?
No, that's never been the case. And for example, I've never worked on the lien, which does involve that type of interest from my non-attorney standpoint.
Do you recall approximately how long you've been engaged on this matter?
I believe it's been since early 2023.
Okay, and how much have you charged in this matter over those 2.5 roughly years?
Well, for reviewing the records, which I've had to re-review, and additional records, examination, the psych testing, my report, preparing for deposition with plaintiff's counsel, I think I've thus far charged something a little over $30,000.
Okay. And I believe you testified that you conducted a psychiatric evaluation of the plaintiff as part of your duties in this case. Is that correct?
Yes. So the psychiatric evaluation is, to me, a broader term that consists of the triad of reviewing records, conducting a face-to-face examination, and scoring and utilizing the psychological testing that was administered during that examination. So it's a matter of integrating and correlating and weighing the information from those three sources.
And can you please, in just a little more detail, explain what happened during that evaluation in this case?
Certainly. So I believe it was in July, maybe around July 21st, 2023. So it took about, I would say, roughly 6 hours. The entire examination was audio recorded. And the first half of the examination was the administration of the psychological testing, where using gold standard psychological tests, I provided them to Ms. Ellis. I was there with her the entire time and made sure she understood the instructions, and then she filled out the answering sheets, circles or bubble and answer sheets as she went along. The
Yes.
second half of the day was the interview, and in accordance with generally accepted principles, whether it's a patient care clinical setting or forensic setting like this, the interview involves a wide variety of background areas in order to establish a baseline, some of these risk and resilience factors for developing a psychiatric disorder. So it includes, for example, a brief developmental history, education growing up, employment, social marital relationships, medications, general medical history, substance use history, if any, whether there are any family history of any psychiatric or medical conditions that are relevant and carry a genetic risk for Ms. Ellis, as well as legal issues like workers' comp claims. So a variety of background areas. And then to establish that baseline in detail, what Ms. Ellis was like, let's say in the month or so before the incident in this case, then a brief discussion of that incident, and then in detail tracing the onset and course of her reported emotional and other symptoms and how that's affected her, and in the context of also correlating that with her real life day-to-day function and any health care that she sought out and received.
Okay, and based on that examination, did you reach any conclusions with respect to whether the plaintiff suffered a mental or emotional injury as a result of her encounter with Cardi B?
Yes, I did reach an opinion, as with all my opinions, I reached an opinion with reasonable medical probability in that regard.
Thank you. And what was that opinion?
My opinion is that there is no significant evidence that Ms. Ellis sustained an emotional injury at any point in time in this case, from the time of the incident to present, with the understanding that an emotional injury, from my standpoint, consists of the onset of one or more psychiatric diagnoses in accordance with the American Psychiatric Association's guidelines or criteria, or the substantial worsening if there was a pre-existing disorder. And that, in my opinion, Ms. Ellis has never qualified for that in this case.
Thank you. I believe you testified that one of the parts of your examination was psychological testing. Is that correct?
Yes.
Can you please briefly explain what those tests were?
Yes. So, again, what's very important is first the choice of tests. I use gold standard tests that are well validated scientifically and recognized as appropriate tests for this context. So the purpose of the test is that first they have validity scales that look at how somebody's approaching taking the test and what information that says generally about how the individual may be approaching reporting an emotional injury claim, as well as on the test specifically. They then include a variety of clinical scales: anxiety, depression, PTSD, physical symptoms, substance use, cognitive symptoms, meaning things like memory, attention, concentration, personality, psychosis, a variety of factors like that.
Can you please identify what tests you administered?
Yes. So I administered the MMPI-3. It was either the MMPI-3 or the MMPI-2-RF. Those are the current ultimate gold standard tests. You have to pass that test. For example, to fly a passenger jet, to be in the Secret Service, you have to pass that, or the other test I gave, for example, to become a law enforcement officer in California. So I gave the MMPI-2-RF or the MMPI-3. I gave the only other gold standard test of that type, the Personality Assessment Inventory, or PAI. And then something that's very secondary is I gave a brief screening cognitive test, simple 10-minute test used in primary care that looks at things like attention, memory, and concentration.
And can you please summarize for the jury what the process of taking the MMPI-2 or 3 test looks like?
Sure. So, I first ask if the individual is familiar with it, and then if she can see the answer sheet and booklet, have her read the formal instructions at the beginning of the test booklet and tell me that she understands them. And then it's a matter of answering about 335 questions where we bubble in on a separate answer sheet, true or false, for those questions. And then I take the results of that and I use the test publisher's official scoring software, which I have on a laptop computer, input those answers, and then generate a statistical report based upon her answers. It provides a variety of scales and scores, and then narrative text, meaning it provides a text description of what individuals like who these scores tend to look like, although it doesn't talk specifically about Ms. Ellis. And you would never want to make an opinion about somebody based on just a test. Again, it's a matter of correlating them with your overall evaluation, with the interview and the record review.
Thank you. Your Honor, I'd like to show Trial Exhibit 229 to the witness.
Objection, hearsay.
You don't want to publish it at this point?
Not at this point.
Oh, okay, I thought he, I had no objection showing this published.
Thank you. Can you please turn in the blue binder to Exhibit 229?
Okay, I'm at 229. Thank you.
Thank you. Are you familiar with this document?
Yes. So this is the report of the MMPI-2 psychological test that I administered to Ms. Ellis on July 21st, 2023, and which I provided along with other documents to opposing counsel before my deposition.
And does this document refresh your recollection as to which version of the MMPI-2 test you conducted in Ms. Ellis' case?
Yes, I gave the MMPI-2. That and the MMPI-3 are the most recent and, again, the gold standard tests worldwide in this kind of a context.
Thank you. And that report that you have in front of you, did you create that document yourself?
Well, I created it in the sense that I inputted her answers into the test publisher software on my laptop. I then double-checked the answer through a process that's provided by the software. And then I had the software generate this report, again, using statistical algorithm that is intrinsic to the software. I don't personally score any of the scales. I don't personally write out any of the text interpretation that's in it. My job is then, how do I use that information when it's available in the overall assessment?
And is it fair to say that you used this report as an analytical tool in reaching your conclusions with respect to Ms. Ellis?
Yes, again, considering all the information available to me from the records, the exam, the testing, I utilized inductive medical reasoning, a best fit logical reasoning, the same reasoning I would use if I was in an emergency room, if I was a surgeon or I was a radiologist.
Do you use this software and the reports that are generated from it regularly in your psychological evaluations?
Yes, I've used these tests several hundreds of times. I have the highest user rating qualification from both test publishers.
Okay, and do you recall when this particular report was generated?
My best recollection is I generated it, shortly after the examination had been completed. But I just apologize; I don't recall a specific date.
Thank you. Defendant moves to admit Exhibit 229 into evidence.
Objection, hearsay.
Your Honor, may I publish page 2 of Exhibit 229?
All right.
All right, and Dr. Rosenberg, you can see at the top there, I suppose you could look at the binder as well.
If you turn your screen on, the top left button on the top left side, it should be on there.
Thank you, Your Honor. That's much better. Thank you, Yannick. Okay, yes, sir. I can see it now. I wasn't able to see that.
Thank you. If you look at the top of the page, it says validity scales. Can you please explain what that means?
Yes. So these are the most important scales of their type for this in the MMPI-3 of any test in the world, any psychological test. The validity scales look at how somebody is approaching the test. The first two scales, Brin and Trin, variable and true response indicator, look at whether somebody understood the test questions and responded to them in a consistent fashion. So those first have to be valid before you can go on to interpret the rest of the test. The remainder of the validity scales, the vast majority of them, look at their F scales because they look at infrequent responses. These scales become more and more elevated if an individual endorses or answers questions endorsing symptoms that are infrequent, meaning that even somebody who actually had that mental disorder would not actually endorse them. And these scales are scored against a large statistical population, cross-section population of the United States. And then the last couple scales, the L scale, looks at a different type of potential manipulation, portraying yourself in an overly positive or virtuous light. And then the last one is just a correction to that.
Thank you. And what do Miss Ellis's test results in this case show you? I'm sorry, specifically with respect to the validity scales.
Yeah, so looking at these, it's more fun to do it from memory, but looking at these scales, they demonstrate that when Ms. Ellis took this test, that she generated scale elevations in the range that only reasonably could be interpreted as either severe symptom exaggeration or symptom fabrication. From a psychiatric standpoint, obviously, I'm not giving a factual opinion. So if we look at F, the third one over with a T-score of 83, so these are compared against a normal bell curve of statistical scores where a T-score of 50 is in the middle. And every time you go out 10, you're going out another standard deviation. So at a T-score of 83, the F scale that looks at things like anxiety, depression, PTSD, she generated a score more than 3 standard deviations above the norm. And statistically, only 48 people out of 100,000 would actually generate that score, even if they really had the condition. If we then look at the other scales thereafter, the FS scale, S is for somatic, meaning physical symptoms. The FBS, which is the fake bad scale or symptom validity scale, and the RBS scale, those look at physical health symptoms and they look at cognitive symptoms like attention, concentration, primarily if you're evaluating a brain injury claim. And so on those scales, with the understanding that, as I'll discuss, Ms. Ellis has not sought out any type of, from my review of the Kaiser records in my audio recorded interview, any type of physical health problem whatsoever, and certainly hasn't had a brain injury. These elevations are extraordinarily high. The FBS, or fake bad scale elevation of a T-score of 102, at 5 standard deviations above the norm, only 2 individuals out of 1 billion would actually have that score if he or she had the actual disorder. So, these are extremely high. They're far beyond the range of somebody who could just be distressed and is trying to emphasize how distressed she is, or so-called cry for help. These are in the range of elevation that no individual, even with the conditions, would reasonably have at that statistical elevation, putting aside that she doesn't even claim those types of symptoms in the first place.
Thank you. What types of symptoms would that be?
So for the FS, to have an elevation on F sub S, which is somatic or physical, especially a significant elevation, you would have to have a serious physical health condition. Let's say you have cancer, or you recently had a heart attack, or you're in heart failure, or you have uncontrolled diabetes, things like that. FBS is particularly sensitive to symptom fabrication or exaggeration in individuals who've had traumatic brain injuries. But again, even if you had a severe disabling traumatic brain injury and you were in a rehabilitation facility, your elevation would be maybe a T-score of 70, 75. Again, at 102, where it's 2 people in a billion, no individual who even had a brain injury would reasonably endorse that score. Where again, they get elevated the more and more you endorse symptoms that no person who actually has the condition would actually report those symptoms. And then RBS is cognitive. So again, it looks at things like attention, memory, and concentration. And again, hers is elevated in the range of 4 standard deviations. So, it would be well over 100 million to 1 that she would actually have those symptoms.
Thank you. Can you please turn to page 10 of the report?
Of this psych testing report?
Yes. Towards the bottom, you see is written diagnostic considerations.
Yes.
Can you please explain what that section is saying here?
Yeah, so again, the report doesn't talk about Ms. Ellis specifically. It talks about, at a statistical level, individuals who have these scales and scores tend to look like this. And the diagnoses that are suggested are rank ordered in the priority of how likely they are. And so the first diagnosis listed is malingering of somatic and or cognitive symptoms, primarily generated by the elevation of the F sub S, the fake bad scale, and the RBS. And so, and malingering refers to the intentional gross exaggeration or otherwise fabrication or manipulation of symptoms for secondary gain in the field of psychiatry, and is actually in accordance with the American Psychiatric Association's published guidelines.
And again, this section of the report, like everything else, this was generated as a result of the test publisher software. Is that correct?
Yes, the test publisher software, the statistical scoring, which involves hundreds of thousands of individuals, and then detailed mathematical statistical algorithms that are used to score this test and prepare this report.
You testified earlier that there were other psychological tests that you administered. Are the results of those tests similar with respect to symptom exaggeration or fabrication?
Well, I'd say yes and no. The other test, the personality assessment inventory, does not have as sensitive of validity scales to detect exaggeration or other manipulation, though it does show some evidence of that. But when we look at the clinical scales on the personality assessment inventory, Ms. Ellis generated such huge elevations for scales like anxiety, physical symptoms, PTSD, depression, again, several deviations above the norm that make no reasonable sense unless somebody was actually, for example, so ill that she required inpatient psychiatric care on medications, was critically ill or terminally ill with physical health conditions. The other inconsistency is that on the MMPI-2RF, she scored, accepting her symptoms at face value, she scored very high on symptoms for paranoid thinking at the level of somebody with a paranoid psychotic disorder like schizophrenia. And that was not seen on the PAI. So that would be an inconsistency between them. But it also would be another example of symptom endorsement that makes no reasonable sense except for intentional gross fabrication or outright fabrication of symptoms in this case. At that level of paranoid thinking, again, would be like a uncontrolled schizophrenia requiring acute inpatient care on medication. But by the same token, taking it at face value, it is, from my standpoint, of relevance to the trier of fact in evaluating somebody with that degree of paranoia and suspiciousness, how that individual reacts to or responds in neutral situations, social situations, potential arguments.
You mentioned a high paranoid thinking score. I believe that's correct.
I'm sorry, so what did you say?
Did you mention a high paranoid thinking score? Is that how you phrased it?
Yes, on the 3 key scales of the MMPI-2 for paranoid thinking, again, typically seen in something like schizophrenia, she had significant elevations on those scales, all 3, again, in the range, which the we see here in the text report, how the report interprets it, at the level of somebody who's a paranoid psychotic with delusions, not just somebody who feels, a little stressed or like somebody's looking over her shoulder.
And as a professional and a psychiatrist, how would you interpret that score in this case?
So again, I think there are only 2 reasonable ways to interpret it. One would be that it's another common manifestation in how somebody in an emotional injury case produces either gross exaggeration or outright fabrication of symptoms in an attempt to look injured. The alternative is that part of somebody's baseline where in day-to-day interactions, she interprets normal or neutral interactions as a personal attack. But the only other reasonable alternative, taking it at face value, would be she actually has a psychotic mental disorder like paranoid schizophrenia, with things like hallucinations, believing that there's a plot to have her killed, satellites are watching her, her phone is bugged, things of that sort.
And based on the other elements of your examination, did you make a conclusion as to which one of those would be true here?
Well, I think reasonably from a psychiatric standpoint, given all the other information available to me, the reasonable interpretation is that it's another example of severe symptom manipulation, exaggeration, or fabrication. But again, it also has to be considered, again, from a factual standpoint for the trier of fact, does it demonstrate paranoid thinking that can affect how somebody reacts in a situation or a disagreement?
But to be clear, are you diagnosing Ms. Ellis with, for example, schizophrenia?
No, that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever.
Why not?
Objection, that's the answer.
Well, because in schizophrenia, and obviously there's a spectrum, there are individuals who are very well controlled on medication. I know I've had schizophrenic patients, who are like run corporations and do very well, but the vast majority tend to have very severe and chronic courses, often homeless in mental institutions. And so, but with these levels of scores, if you actually had schizophrenia, you would function at a very low level. You wouldn't be able to maintain reasonable family relationships. You wouldn't be able to hold a job. You wouldn't be able to function in major life activities. And again, you would require psychiatric hospitalization and antipsychotic medication.
Did you diagnose Ms. Ellis with any psychiatric conditions?
No, again, since I equate for a case like this, emotional injury with have you developed one or more psychiatric disorders as a result of your allegations of the incident with Cardi B. I have no diagnosis for her because she has sustained no emotional injury.
Okay, and apart from the test results, are there any other factors on which you base your conclusion that plaintiff hasn't suffered any mental or emotional injury?
Yes.
What are those?
So the first factor is that, again, I accept Ms. Ellis's report or allegations of what happened that day in that incident, reasonably from a psychiatric standpoint, that would be a stressful or upsetting situation. You might be mad or angry for a day. You might lose some sleep over it. It might be in the back of your mind for a few days. But reasonably, people don't develop psychiatric disorders like an anxiety disorder, depression, from an argument or an unpleasant interaction like that on a single basis. That just makes no reasonable sense. And as we'll discuss, it makes even less sense in Ms. Ellis's case because it turns out, although she didn't share them with me when I asked, she's had multiple traumas in her life. And according to her, those didn't cause emotional problems. So She obviously must have great resilience, and it would make no sense that this much more minor thing somehow would, when most people wouldn't. The other reason is that, well, I have a few reasons, but I promise I'll stop talking soon. Another reason it's important to understand that this doesn't constitute a trauma. Again, accepting Ms. Ellis's report of what happened at face value, it doesn't constitute a trauma. It would be a stressor to some degree on an interpersonal basis, but under the American Psychiatric Association standards for what constitutes a trauma, for example, to be able to develop PTSD, this does not meet that. It has to be something like life-threatening accident, illness, witness to violence. So, for example, physical or sexual abuse growing up, kidnapping, sexual assault,
What is
military
that?
trauma. These things are traumas, and they can lead to PTSD. An argument or unpleasant interpersonal interaction isn't a trauma and can't lead to PTSD. And that's particularly important for us since some of Ms. Ellis's most dramatic scores on the psych testing have been profound elevations of PTSD scales. Again, in a range from one individual who actually had PTSD would reasonably generate those scores.
Are there any other factors?
Yes, so another important factor is, again, in accordance with the published, generally accepted guidelines of the American Psychiatric Association in our diagnostic manual, whenever there is a psychiatrist or psychologist is doing an evaluation in a legal context where financial gain or some other type of secondary gain is at stake, you always have to consider and rule out the risk of intentional manipulation for financial gain. And in that context, in this case, Ms. Ellis has demonstrated a significant pattern of inconsistencies and other symptom validity issues. For example, in my audio recorded examination, again, there's an audio recorded record, she told me, with the exception of a couple sessions of family therapy when she was 12 because her sister had been sexually assaulted by a neighbor, she could not recall a single trauma in her entire life growing up. Couldn't remember a single one in response to my detailed question. Whereas, for example, in her deposition, she reported that she was a victim growing up of domestic violence in the home, gang violence, other violence. Schoolmates were shot and killed. She was physically mugged in high school. Her car was broken into several times. None of those were reported to me. So those represent an important mismatch in a legal case where an individual potentially tries to make everything about the incident that can be compensable in a lawsuit. Another example along the same lines is in my audio recorded exam, she told me that all of her emotional problems from the day of the incident, in this case, February 2018 to present, have been entirely due to what happened with Cardi B and absolutely nothing else. And she couldn't identify any other stressors in recent years that could be relevant. Whereas again, in her deposition testimony, the same year, January 2018, her mother was diagnosed with thyroid cancer. Later in the year, her mother had radiation therapy for cancer.
Objection right to privacy of the mother.
If you want to describe the issues more generically.
My apologies, Your Honor.
Sure.
And the same year, one of her friends committed suicide. Again, none of those things were shared with me. So that would be another example. I do have a couple more.
Setting aside that mismatch that you're discussing, are there any other general topics, general factors on which you base your conclusion?
Yes. So another factor that I have to consider as a psychiatrist and medical doctor is there a mismatch across sources of information, considering the records I've reviewed, the psych testing I did, the interview. So another factor, which is very important, is to correlate somebody's subjective, meaning what she reports, emotional injury claims of injury, with real life day-to-day function as a more objective measure. So in this case, if I accepted Ms. Ellis's reports at face value, particularly with the psych testing, she would have profound off-the-charts PTSD, profound disabling depression, anxiety, profound disabling physical health conditions. Whereas when I compare that to her real life function, she's had intact relationships with her, loving relationships with her family, which would not be reasonable in context, particularly of profound PTSD. That she's, in a few months after the altercation and continuing to the present, she's had a job that not only has been higher paying for her, but has been more demanding, requires top, excellent interpersonal skills, how to deal with people, troubled youths, and emotional resilience, and has, per her deposition, performed it well. Again, total mismatch. She also reported to me that since the incident, she's traveled to Hawaii, Las Vegas, Mexico, though she couldn't remember supposedly that if she had gone to other places or how many times. And again, even if you look in the psych testing report that was generated, particularly severe PTSD, you don't want to leave your house. You don't want to interact with people. You withdraw from your family. The future looks bleak to you. You don't have a job. These things are completely contrary.
Thank you. No further questions.
All right, Cross.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Ellis. Good afternoon, Dr. Rosenberg.
Good afternoon, sir.
I took your deposition on August 5th and we went over all of your opinions, correct?
We went over all my opinions, but it's very clear that you didn't ask me for all the factors in support of my opinions.
Okay. But I did take your deposition and took about 2 hours, a little bit less, correct?
Yes, sir. You were extremely polite and professional, which I appreciate.
Thank you, Don. So you testified today that you billed $30,000 in this case. Is that often the charges that you bill for the type of case that's litigated and without the time for trial, of course, up until trial? Is that a reasonable amount of billing in a case like this?
I would say in a complex case that spans over years, that's probably true of maybe 25% of my litigation matters that I work on.
Okay, and in addition to the $30,000 that you received, you were also paid $1,800 by my office, correct?
Yes, sir, for my deposition fees.
And for today, you're being paid another $10,000 to prepare and appear here and testify and go back and forth. Is that fair?
I think that's reasonable, yes, sir.
Could it be higher than that amount?
I don't think so. I think that's a reasonable estimate.
So my estimate is about $40,000, right?
Yes, sir, I think that's very reasonable.
And in the past 29 years, you testified at your deposition, or I can ask you now, isn't it true that in 70 to 80% of cases, you testified on behalf of the defense up until recently, correct?
Yes.
And there's a well-known lawyer that we all know, no need to mention names, but recently he's been giving you some more work, so your 70 to 80% has gone down to 60%, correct?
More work on the plaintiff side, that's correct.
And as far as the attorneys, Cardi B had an attorney before Mr. Kossoff and other lawyers. In working with their firm, you worked in 5 other cases with them?
That sounds about right, sir, yes.
And with their new law firm, Davis, Wright, and Tremaine, with Mr. Peterson, Mr. Lamb, and all the other attorneys involved with them, you worked in 15 cases with their office, correct?
Objection. Same facts.
Yes, over the past 20 years or so, that's correct, though I've never worked with these particular attorneys before.
And would you agree that in 90% of cases that you were hired in, you basically remain the expert on the case and you don't withdraw, correct? About 90%.
I apologize, I don't recall a case in which I have withdrawn.
So are you saying that every single time the defense hires you in a case, you remain the expert in that case without giving them an opinion before you testify?
Objection. This states
Is that what you're saying, sir? So when you were hired by Cardi B's office, by her lawyers, when were you hired, approximately?
I believe it was sometime early in 2023.
And when you were hired in 2023, did you ask, well, strike that. Did you examine Emani Ellis in 2023, right? Or was it 2024? Sorry.
Sorry, I need to interrupt you, sir. I believe it was July 21st of 2023.
Did you ever do any type of examination on Cardi B at any?
Given that would be inappropriate since she wasn't the plaintiff with a psychiatric claim, I did not, sir.
Right, but she was involved in some type of altercation, correct?
Objection. Incomplete.
I don't think it's relevant. It's not relevant whether she has any damages or not.
And what is your understanding as to what is the basis of this claim? What is Emani Ellis's claim? Why is she here in court?
My understanding is that she felt that she was verbally mistreated by Cardi B, including foul or demeaning language, that Cardi B touched her face with a long fingernail and caused some injury to her face, and that also resulted a month later in Ms. Ellis being fired from her security job.
Okay. Do you know, in psychiatry, do you treat patients that deal with assault and battery?
In my patient care practice, putting aside legal matters,
Yes.
Can you subject for any ambiguous as to deal with?
I'll strike that. Have you treated patients for injuries related to assault and battery in your career since 1994 as a psychiatrist?
a few hundred times, from very simple to extremely severe injuries.
When you say simple, what is an example? What are you saying to us?
Yes. So by simple, I don't mean to say it's not important or it's not serious to the person, but I mean, for example, let's say somebody being pushed or a hand on a shoulder in an aggressive way or something like that, all the way up to people who are beaten and kicked on the ground with skull fractures and being hit over the head with clubs and pistol whips, a variety of things, stabbed.
And when you treated the various patients, would you treat them more than once? The ones that you're speaking of?
Typically, and again, it depends on the setting. As a medical doctor, I used to spend a lot of time in emergency rooms, so there it might be once. But over the course of my career, overwhelmingly, particularly 22 years in a nonprofit clinic in Van Nuys, I would treat them on a repeated basis. Some of them I would treat for many years, although those tended to be individuals with major mental disorders like bipolar or schizophrenia.
Okay, and if you could just look at the other binder on your left, please.
Pardon me one sec, sir. Yes, sir. Where should I look?
Yes, if we can look at exhibit 1-003.
I'm there, sir.
At the time of your deposition, had you reviewed this page?
Objection. Beyond the scope of your right.
As best I recall, sir, I had not reviewed this particular page.
Okay. Do you remember in your deposition, I asked you if you'd reviewed all of Miss Emani Ellis's medical bills? Do you remember that?
I apologize. I vaguely remember that, and I don't remember what my answer was.
Is he designated for medical bills?
No.
I don't know why we're going down this route.
Okay. Thank you. If we can go to exhibit number 2.
I'm at exhibit number 2, sir.
You reviewed the medical records and bills of Dr. McKinsey, correct?
Yes, I haven't done so recently, but I did earlier in this case.
And we went over this together at the time of your deposition. And you expressed that for purposes of workers' compensation, the treatment was reasonable, but maybe for this case it's not. Do you remember testifying to that, Doctor?
Objection beyond the scope of direct and also beyond the scope of the executive examination.
Do you have his presentation?
It's in the trial.
Wasn't mine.
Tab 8.
The objection's suspended.
As far as any type of physical injury, isn't it true that you are not giving any type of expert opinion about physical injury, correct?
Aside from her inconsistent reports of whether or not she was actually touched on the face by the fingernail, that's correct, sir. I'm not a plastic surgeon. Other than that, I'm not giving any testimony with regard to physical injuries.
And when she came to your office, did you examine her face to see if she had a scar?
As I do
So
with,
yes or no? I'm sorry.
well, I observed her across the table for several hours. I didn't specifically examine her face.
Did you have an intention to look for the scar on her face?
No.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Did you physically go up to her face and look to see if there was a scar?
No, sir.
Are you giving any opinions about Miss Emani's physical scar on her face, whether she has one now, she had one from this incident, anything to do with her plastic surgery? Giving any of the opinions about that?
Objection, incomplete hypothetical, also beyond the scope. That's what I meant.
Okay, and in formulating your opinions, did you review Miss Emani Ellis's medical records?
Yes, sir. And those were extremely important to me, actually.
Okay. And you reviewed the medical records from Nicole McKenzie, is that correct? Is that her? Do you remember that?
I haven't recently, but I have in the past. Yes, sir.
You can look at it. Did you review Exhibit 2?
Yes, sometime before my deposition, but I've not looked at them since.
And you reviewed Exhibit 3?
Yes, sometime before my deposition, but not since.
Okay, and you reviewed Exhibit 4? And Exhibit 5?
Let me take a look here.
Hey,
Pardon me, sir.
Objection, compound.
we're gonna get a three down for the final Aquarius.
As best I recall, yes, but not recently.
And in formulating your opinions, did all of these exhibits assist you in your formulating opinions and coming up with your opinions for us today?
The Kaiser records were extremely important because she had several visits and didn't report a single emotional problem, didn't ask for any care related to
Objection, non-responsive.
So it's a yes or no question. Did you rely on the records in forming your?
only the Kaiser records.
I didn't ask you about the Kaiser.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry, you asked me about the Kaiser records earlier. You mean just the ones that I'm looking at in the notebook?
I never said the word Kaiser. I'm sorry. I apologize.
I'm sorry, I guess when you said medical records, that's what I was interpreting.
Yeah, I'm talking about the medical records from Dr. McKenzie, the psychologist, the medical records from Dr. Avila, a psychologist, the medical records from Dr. Mulligan, a plastic surgeon, the medical records from Dr. Norman, pain management.
Some type of
Did
innocence
you
or something
review
like
these
that.
records? You testified in one go, yes. And the question is, did you use these four medical records in formulating any of your opinions that you testified to today here in court?
No, sir.
Isn't that way
Okay, so when you said there was inconsistencies,
our individual?
didn't you mean that, well, strike that. When you said there's inconsistencies,
Like,
you found those in the medical records that I just asked you about?
like a retrieval, somebody is
Isn't that true?
heavily concentrated, when it comes to.
Maybe I had previously,
Somebody very
I don't recall if that's in my deposition testimony, but I did not consider those in formulating my opinions for today. It was the Kaiser records.
Somebody who's very.
Okay, the Kaiser records that you're speaking,
Prosperous,
isn't it true that the Kaiser records,
very,
any medical treatment that Emani Ellis received at Kaiser, it has nothing to do with this case. It has nothing to do with assault and battery. It's something totally unrelated, correct?
Objections, speculation, hearsay.
Super problem solved. Sustained.
Why did Emani Ellis go to Kaiser Hospital?
Objection, speculation.
Sustained.
Do you know why, from reading the medical records and bills, do you know why Miss Emani Ellis went to the Kaiser Permanente Hospital?
Over.
Yes, Your Honor. The answer is yes.
Why did she go to Kaiser Permanente Hospital?
Well, April 2022 was for an annual history and physical, comprehensive. November 2022, comprehensive history and physical. April 2023 with the PA was for reported hand pain.
Everything that you just told us right now about Kaiser Permanente Hospital, as a medical doctor, and in reviewing all these records that you testified you read, wouldn't you agree that those medical treatments have nothing to do with this incident? Agreed? Yes or no?
Objection, very ambiguous.
Over.
I disagree. They're extremely important.
I didn't ask you if they're important. I agree they're important. Going to a hospital is important. My question is, if the medical treatment that was received at Kaiser Permanente Hospital, if it has any relation to medical treatment received by Emani Ellis related to this incident that occurred on February 24th, 2018. Was it?
For my purposes, yes.
Okay. So are you telling us that Miss Emani Ellis went to the hospital in 2022 and 2023 because of injuries related to this incident? Is that what you're testifying to, doctor?
No.
Okay. I understand what you're saying. What you are telling us is you used some of the medical records from Kaiser Permanente Hospital to formulate some of your opinions in this case. Isn't that true? Maybe
Yes,
I'm
sir.
wrong. Okay, that's true.
Yes, thank you.
And you use that for your different type of studies, your MMPI studies, and all types of different testing that you did, correct?
Objection, very ambiguous.
Over. Sustained.
But just so we're clear, the actual treatment didn't have to do with assault and battery or a physical injury. Is that correct?
Objection, very ambiguous.
This has been asked and answered several times.
All right, and then I want some clarity on the other four documents. The psychological, well, let me ask you this, as a psychiatrist, do you believe that psychological care with no medication is a respected medicine?
As a general principle, yes.
Have you referred your own patients to receive psychological care?
Oh, innumerable times, yes.
And whether it's a PsyD or PhD or some other type of psychologist that's licensed, you agree that patients can receive medical care from those types of professionals and actually benefit from that type of care. You agree?
Well, it's not medical care, but I do agree that they can receive very helpful, effective mental health care.
So are you saying mental health care is not medical care?
Objection, dismissed.
Over.
In general, unless it's a psychiatrist, mental health care is much broader and refers to non-medical healthcare providers, psychologists, LMFT, social workers.
Do you believe that patients benefit from mental health treatment with no medication?
Overruled.
For the appropriate indication, yes, sir.
And how does it help if they go to a psychologist and they talk about their problems? From your perspective, you're a psychiatrist. You are the man who would know. So when a patient goes to a psychologist and they talk about their problems, they explain their problems, why does that help the patient? Why?
I don't know that it's relevant, so if you can establish some foundation as to why we're talking about other patients.
Did Emani Ellis receive psychological treatment in this case, based on your review of the medical records and medical bills, from 2 different psychologists? True?
Yes.
And from your review of the medical records, she went to 7 treatments with Nicole McKenzie and other doctors from her office. Is that true?
Projection beyond the scope of this expert's designation.
Overruled.
That sounds about right, sir, yes.
And she went to Dr. Avila, another psychologist. She went to his office and got treatment from other providers that were under him for a total of 12 treatments, correct?
Objection beyond the scope of this expert's.
Overruled.
That sounds about right, yes, sir.
And those 2 psychologists, setting aside this case, is there any reason why you as a professional would not refer a patient to these 2 psychologists?
Objection.
I withdraw the question. If we were to talk about, do you remember at the time of your deposition, you said to me that you testified under oath that you worked alongside Dr. Mulliken in cases before? True? About 10 times?
Objection to statements.
Overruled.
Well, when you say alongside, I've been on the same side and on the opposite side in several legal cases, not like next to him in surgery.
I understand. But you worked alongside him, meaning you've worked on the same cases in about 10 different times, correct? That was your testimony.
Yes, I don't know if it's 10 on the same side or 10 in total on both sides, but happy to accept whatever you say.
Right. And you're affiliated with UCLA?
Not anymore. I was a professor for 16 years, but not anymore.
Okay. And Dr. Mulliken is also affiliated with UCLA? Is that how you know him?
I don't know if he's currently affiliated with UCLA or not, sir. He certainly has excellent qualifications.
Right. You said that at your deposition. Your words were, he has very impressive credentials, correct?
Yes.
Do you know Dr. Mulliken to be a clinical associate professor at UCLA?
Objection. Speculation. Beyond this expert's designation.
At your deposition, you stated that you cannot say that the diagnosis was malingering. Do you remember testifying to that?
Yes.
And what does that mean?
What does malingering mean?
Well, yeah, sure. I'm sorry.
I didn't know if you meant that or what I meant by saying I couldn't diagnose it.
Why don't we start with what does malingering mean?
So malingering is an official diagnosis of the American Psychiatric Association. It's not a disorder, but it's a diagnosis, which refers to a pattern of intentional exaggeration, fabrication, or other manipulation in a legal context for secondary gain. For example, in a criminal case, it could be trying to appear psychotic to avoid criminal punishment. In litigation like this, typically for monetary gain.
And you testified at the deposition that you cannot say that the diagnosis was malingering. Do you remember saying that?
Ms. Ellis, absolutely, I did say that, sir.
Do you remember meeting Miss Ellis? Do you remember the encounter?
Yes.
Do you remember telling Miss Ellis that you were sorry about what she went through? Did you tell her that?
Yes, based upon her description, I told her I was sorry what she had been through, and it was a pleasure to meet her. And
the testing that you did was in
2023, 5 years later?
Yes, sir.
Would it have been beneficial to have done your testing and interview and all the different things shortly after this incident?
I think that would have been beneficial as well, but also doing it again later is also equally beneficial.
Okay. And do you remember I asked you about discovery? If you had reviewed any discovery and you said you had not. Fair?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you actually asked that the defense provide you with the discovery so you could review it and that you would then give us additional opinions. You remember testifying to that in your deposition?
Objection listed testimony.
I don't recall, but I know I said that if I received additional information of any type, I'd happily review it, consider it, and it could modify my opinions.
Have you received those discovery responses?
No, sir.
Do you remember also testifying at your deposition that it would be beneficial to your opinions to see Emani Ellis a second time? Do you remember testifying to that?
Yes.
And that if you saw her a second time, that it could further modify your opinions in this case, correct?
Objection listed testimony.
Potentially, yes, sir.
And between 2018 and 2023, before you saw Emani Ellis, between that 5-year time span, her psychological or psychiatric condition could have changed, correct? She could have got better. She could have recovered, right? True?
I'm sorry, between 18 and 23?
Yes.
That's certainly a possibility.
Okay. And when she saw Dr. McKenzie for 7 visits and other doctors that work in Dr. McKenzie's office, those 7 visits, you said that psychological care helps. Maybe it helped her.
Objection calls respect.
Possible, correct?
Assistant.
Do you believe that Miss Emani Ellis benefited from the psychological care she received from Dr. McKenzie?
Objection.
Yes or no?
Calls for speculation.
Assistant.
And she also received, from your review of the medical records, 12 visits from Dr. Avila's office and staff, correct? You testified to that. So would you agree that 7 plus 12 is 19 visits of psychological care? True?
Yes, I feel very confident in that, yes.
Okay. Appreciate it. When you refer your patients out for psychological treatment, do you usually give a limit on the course of care, or maybe 5 visits, 10 visits, 12 visits, or you just refer them out to psychological providers?
I'm usually quite precise, but it also depends on the type of psychological care or psychotherapy. Some are time limited, but on purpose. Others could go on over the course of somebody's lifetime.
All right, Council, why don't we focus on what his opinions are?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. Okay. Also, we talked about the distinction in your deposition between factual opinion and psychiatric opinion. And you said that you cannot say what did or did not occur in the incident. Do you remember testifying to that?
Yes.
So basically what that means, just to break it down, is you don't know how this incident occurred. Is that fair?
Outside of a psychiatric context, that's correct. Actually, it's none of my business to determine what happened.
Okay. And isn't it true that you don't know if Miss Emani Ellis was assaulted and battered by Cardi? You just don't know, correct?
Factually, that's correct, sir.
And you also don't know if Emani Ellis was cut on her face by Cardi. You don't know that, correct?
Objection beyond the scope of this evidence.
Assistant.
Have you ever spoken with Cardi B at all during the course of this case?
No, sir. I've never spoken to her or had any other type of communication with her.
Would it have been beneficial for you to hear Cardi B's version of what happened in this case? Would that help you in your expert opinion?
I'd certainly be happy to weigh that and give it consideration, but my focus was on emotional injuries of the plaintiff, Ms. Ellis, not on an evaluation of Cardi B.
Understood, but would it have been beneficial to at least hear her version of what occurred in the case? Would that help you? Objections, I withdraw the question. Thank you, Doctor. No further questions.
It's a privilege to see you again, sir.
Thank you, Doctor.
All right, redirect.
Just a few questions. You testified earlier as to your understanding of the facts of this case. Could you please explain what sources that's based on?
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you.
I'm
sir.
sorry. You testified earlier as to your understanding of the facts of this case. Could you please explain what sources your understanding is based on?
Yes, so it's based upon my review of Ms. Ellis's deposition, the available medical and mental health records I've reviewed. Again, the understanding, several of them I haven't reviewed recently. It's also based upon my detailed audio recorded several-hour interview with Ms. Ellis. And again, in the course of doing my interview, I accept hypothetically at face value that what she's telling me is correct. And then later I form my opinions, which may include opinions regarding symptom validity. But it's not my role to make a factual determination.
And all of those sources that you've reviewed, the facts come from Ms. Ellis or statements that Ms. Ellis made. Is that correct?
Yes.
And does that make sense to you that you would rely on Ms. Ellis's own statements in forming a diagnosis or lack of diagnosis as to Ms. Ellis?
Objection outside the scope.
Over.
Well, if it was a patient care setting, you typically rely only on what the patient tells you and accept at face value that the person's there for help. In a legal context, it's not appropriate for me to accept what somebody says at face value without corroborating it against psychological testing and available records.
You testified that you did not formally diagnose Ms. Ellis with malingering. What does a formal diagnosis of malingering require, and why did you not? Scratch that. Why did you not diagnose Ms. Ellis with malingering?
Because although Ms. Ellis meets the fundamental criteria from psychiatric standpoint of gross symptom exaggeration or outright fabrication and a pattern of inconsistencies across information, she's had so many traumas in her life, both growing up and other losses and traumas around 2018, that I can't rule out that she has some sort of emotional problems at a mild level, but they just wouldn't be related to this case.
You evaluated Ms. Ellis 5 years after the incident, according to Ms. Ellis. Is
Yes.
that correct? In your professional opinion, what is the likelihood that Ms. Ellis would not present with any emotional or psychological injuries up to that date that would be related to the incident, but then after this date would suddenly develop emotional or psychological injuries related to that incident?
Objection, vague and ambiguous, unintelligible. Now,
I'm sorry, Your Honor, I didn't hear it.
Over.
It makes no reasonable sense, and there's no significant likelihood that that would be the case from a medical standpoint. Again, the incident itself, taken at face value, constitutes a situational stressor, a stressful interpersonal interaction. It certainly does not constitute a trauma, as I've discussed. And for somebody to not have a psychiatric disorder and emotional injury for 5 years thereafter, but have significant evidence of symptom manipulation, and also to have the resilience to, by her own accord, report not have psychiatric problems from all the real trauma she has had in her life at other times. It makes no sense that she would suddenly develop it at this point.
Thank you. Give me just a minute. Nothing further. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Recross?
Yes, sir. Thank you. For any type of other types of injuries that you brought up, someone who was shot at school, a family member got sick, all these other things that you brought up, where did you obtain that information?
It's actually very ambiguous.
Over.
And it's also outside the scope. I've thought it.
Sustained.
Did you see any other psychological records or bills related to Emani Ellis prior to this instance?
Outside the scope.
Sustained.
You generated a report, correct, on November 22nd of 24?
Objection outside the scope.
Sustained. So there's basically one line of questioning relating to whether or not your client had a later onset of symptoms. I think you're limited to that.
Yes, sir. When you said, when counsel just asked you some questions about inconsistencies and malingering, you said there were inconsistencies. Where were there these inconsistencies? Was it the time when you interviewed her one time, or was it in the medical records?
Objection outside the scope.
Over.
As I had tried to explain, it was a combination of my review of the records, the psychological testing, and my interview, comparing those as well as intrinsic validity issues within some of those sources.
Which medical record shows an inconsistency? Which one?
The extremely important Kaiser medical records.
What does the Kaiser medical record say that's inconsistent?
That in, again, April 2022, she went for complete history and physical. She specifically denied any kind of mental health issues, specifically denied anxiety, sleep problems, had no reported mental health problems, no request for care. Same thing in November 2022 with Dr. Ahmad. And then in April 2023, when she went in for her hand pain with the nurse practitioner, they also did a review of systems and asked her about symptoms across the board, which is typical for Kaiser. Absolutely no emotional problems whatsoever, no request for mental health assistance.
Okay. So are you telling us that when Emani Ellis went to Kaiser Permanente on the date of November 29, 22, respectfully, when she went there for vaginal discharge, she should have told that doctor that she had psychological issues? Is that what you're saying, doctor?
Objection to be honest.
Yes or no?
Over.
It was a different entry. I'm not talking
That's
about
not
that
what
entry.
I'm asking, doctor. Again, should I repeat what I said, or can you just
I don't
answer
think
the
he said he
question?
based his opinion on that, Archer Counsel.
You reviewed this record, Kaiser Permanente, correct? You reviewed it. You just testified about it. 161 pages of records. And you said that these records show inconsistencies. And now my question is, are you telling me that my client went to Kaiser Permanente for vaginal discharge on November 29th of 22, and at that visit, she's supposed to tell the doctor that she has psychological problems? Is that your testimony, doctor?
Objection argumentative.
Sustained.
Are you telling us that every time someone sees a doctor, medical doctor for a cough, sees a dentist for their broken tooth, sees a podiatrist for the broken toe, they have to each time tell the doctor, I have an emotional injury, I have a psychological injury to that medical doctor? Is that what you mean?
Objection argumentative.
Sustained.
What do you mean by inconsistencies in the Kaiser records? Tell us in your own words.
Well, I just mentioned this example, 3 key entries where she went. 2 of them were for history and physical, like general checkups, where everything was covered.
Show me in the book. Show me in the book. Blue book.
Okay, why don't you let him finish the answer before you ask him the next question?
Yes, sir.
So,
Were you done, Doctor?
no, Your Honor, thank you. So again, one was April 2022, Dr. King. The next was November 2022, Dr. Ahmed. The next was nurse practitioner Leon, April 2023, where these are records where, for Kaiser Electronic Medical Records, they asked about other types of conditions, and there were no complaints at all from her that she had a mental health problem or was asking for any kind of care, despite these profound elevations on her psych testing. And in that first one with Dr. King, April 2022, she actually specifically denied problems with insomnia or anxiety, which covers a significant aspect of her symptoms.
Doctor, my request is you show me these 161 pages where it says what you're saying, so that I can confirm so myself. It's in front of you in the blue book under Exhibit 212. You're more than welcome to look at it, show it,
Objection.
so that we know the truth.
Objection, Your Honor.
I withdraw the question. Let's go to another issue, Doctor. So, if the plaintiff's emotional injury ended before she went to Kaiser, would you agree that there would be no inconsistency because the psychological injury ended prior to that medical visit? Do you agree with that?
Objection, speculation outside of the scope of the hearing.
It makes no reasonable sense. It's not possible.
Why is it not possible? Why can't she recover? She could have recovered before she went to the Kaiser. She could have recovered, couldn't she have?
Which question would you like me to answer?
Could Miss Emani Ellis have recovered in 2021 or 2022 before she went to Kaiser Hospital? Is that possible? Yes or no?
Objection, incomplete hypothetical.
Taking her symptoms at face value, it's not possible and it's contradictory.
So if in her mind, in her brain, she felt that she recovered after seeing these psychologists, why would she tell Kaiser that she has a psychological problem if she recovered?
I'm sorry, counsel. So she does an exam with him in 23?
No, Your Honor.
When did she see him?
Yes, that is.
Okay, and you're saying that she recovered prior to that, but then had the onset of symptoms when she's with him?
My question is if the plaintiff recovered in 2022, before she went to Kaiser Permanente Hospital, if she had recovered, would there be any reason to tell Kaiser she has an emotional injury? Yes or no?
It makes no sense.
I understand, but if it was true.
All right, I think we're done here. Do you have anything else?
In 2023, when Miss Emani Ellis saw you, did she tell you she was still experiencing emotional injuries from this incident?
Yes, in both the interview and particularly the testing.
And when she told you she was suffering from emotional injuries, did she believe that you're a psychiatrist? Did she know that?
Objection, speculation.
Did
Did you disclose to Emani
Okay,
Ellis?
we're beyond the scope here. Why don't you focus on what was in the redirect?
You said there were some inconsistencies in the Kaiser records. Isn't it true that when Emani Ellis went to Kaiser Permanente Hospital, she went there for reasons other than psychological reasons?
Objection, asked and answered.
Sustained.
In fact, aside from, I'll withdraw that question. The first doctor you said, Dr. King, that she saw, Dr. King, right?
Wasn't the first doctor she saw, but it was first of my 3 examples. That was April 2022, sir.
When she saw Dr. King, where did she see Dr. King from?
Objection.
I think we've fully exhausted the scope of the sign-up questioning. Do you have anything else?
Aside from the inconsistencies that you reviewed, actually, let me ask you, the inconsistencies that you're telling us about in the record, in the Kaiser records, these are non-psychological records, correct? Not fair? I'll close with this.
Objection.
If you say yes to that, we're done.
Objection.
I just want the truth.
Overruled.
Yes, sir.
No further questions.
All right, any questions from the jury? I don't see a hand. All right, can this witness be excused?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. All right, folks, that's going to bring us to our afternoon break. Why don't we get back together at 3:25? In the meantime, please do not discuss the case with anyone, including other jurors. Don't form any opinions or do any research. We'll see you at 3:25.
What he said, I've heard 1,000 times in it with clients that have had actual head injuries from car accidents. So I get what he was trying to do, but it's just not landing because of the presentation. So the whole financial aspect, what he was trying to show in the beginning was that there is bias. Yes, you pull out, okay, 90% of your cases are for defense. You defend people that are getting sued. Is that right? So basically, you're considered a medical examiner that's going to say this person does not deserve money. Right? Now, do I think there was some bad facts throughout this case that he pulled out even more? Because the issue is this lady's mom and grandma got on the stand and made it almost seem like she had a Mary Poppins growing up. In her deposition, apparently she didn't even testify in that manner. So I don't, because honestly, if you grew up in a DV situation, you might get a little hype and crime. That's the environment you grew up in. You saying you've been mugged? What did he say? Carjacked? He had a few different things that he alleges that she said in the deposition. How does this not go against everyone making it seem like this Cardi B, you arguing with somebody, even if she scratched your head and called you the N-word, that does not beat your friend committing unaliving herself or himself. That does not beat your mom being diagnosed with cancer. That does not beat you growing up in a DV situation where you're not feeling safe coming home, be it your mom, grandma, whoever was the one involved in it. That is not more traumatic. If anything, your response to things made you respond that way, probably because you've had all of these traumatic experiences in your life, of which your response is always to pop off. That goes against you. That doesn't really help you. But back to my original point. When you do these type of expert cross-examinations, there's only so much you are going to be able to do. He should have picked 3-4 points to been able to just make the jury not want to give much weight to his credibility. You can't take away from his expertise. He is good at what he does. It is what it is. He got all the credentials. But if he is testifying 90% of the time for people that are being sued and they're getting hired by people with a lot of money that can pay them, then you have an incentive to testify in a certain direction. And that's what he was trying to get at, I believe. But to say things and put your client's business out there about a discharge, because you're trying to show, if you're going to the doctors for a headache, why would you just say, I'm having psychological problems? You know why, mister, you should say that? Because just today, I went for my blood pressure, do blood pressure checks or whatnot. Your intake asks you your mental health in the intake before you even get in there, the little pre-registration. I was clearly doing a follow-up on this one thing. I wasn't even going to take no clothes off or do nothing. It was going to be one of these. Like, check my blood pressure. That's it. They still ask about your mental health. When I went to the dentist, they had it on their intake. When you go to the ER, they don't care if you're in there for a backache, your foot hurting, your ankle hurting. They ask you about your mental health, suicidal ideologies. They ask all of that stuff. So to sit there and argue, why would she put it on a document? Then to top it all off, that wasn't good enough. That wasn't a good enough food pie. You had to turn around and say, well, what if by the time she saw you, she was already healed? Well, why does that make, first of all, post-traumatic stress disorder, because that's kind of what it sounds like they're alluding to. So you're saying this thing with Cardi B happened in 2018. She goes to therapy. This is his argument. Goes to therapy 19 times total, and then she's healed by going to therapy. Of course, therapist is not where they giving you medication or any of that. You're totally healed. You just need to talk to somebody 19 times. You go talk to the people, and then it so happened by the time you get deep in this litigation and you got to talk to the defendant's doctor, you're totally healed of everything. Mm-hmm. But just a year prior or whatever it was, you done had car accidents, you had someone unaliving themselves, you had your mom's diagnosis, but now you're totally healed from a 20-second incident. It only takes 19 sessions. None of that makes any logical sense. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You cannot make your facts up. Now, you can decide whether to take cases or not, and this is a case that he decided to take. So you got to, take the good with the bad. But pick what you got that is clear, direct, that you can get a yes or a no out of. Try to get some doubt to it and keep it moving. You're going with the bias. That's all you got. He has an incentive. How many times do you diagnose people in these type of situations with malingering and exaggeration? Can I get a percentage? Isn't it true that you've had similar assault cases just like this? And let me it's been times I've done like with medical doctors that's done these like examinations, and I can do side by side, and they said the same thing. I got to the point where I started keeping an archive of different doctors so that I could utilize them and see how different is my report. Almost sometimes the reports look like they changed the name, add a couple of the facts for that incident, and that's it. That's what you attack. All of this going all over, putting your client's personal but JJ business out here on live stream and all of that is ridiculous to me. You sound like you losing and you just don't know what to do. You really do. You know how you just like you get frustrated, you playing basketball and the kids get frustrated, they just throw the ball down or something. That's what it looks like you're doing right now, counselor. Oh gosh. TLC said, Pam, can you represent the intellects in the class action against this attorney for emotional distress and increased alcohol use disorder? I mean, it's a learning experience, you know. He did. I don't understand that comment. To say something like, why would, if she's going for a discharge, why would she mention her mental health? What are you doing? But you objected when the man said her mom had cancer that was diagnosed with cancer and was getting 1 year and got radiation. You objected as to privacy. But you just let the whole world on the whole worldwide
About her discharge.
know that she went to the darn doctor for a discharge. But you worried about somebody. No, she testified her mom had cancer because she testified that she was checking voicemails. She wasn't on her phone. She was just checking voicemails because her mom had cancer and she was checking on her mommy. Just ridiculous. That was so embarrassing. I feel embarrassed for her. Like, what the hell wrong with you? I don't. And again, and I was thinking about that too. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, how is this gonna affect her after this? We've watched this whole clown show. How is this going to affect her after the fact? People already talking about her, talking about the Foot Locker outfit. People already done put her in memes. Now you got your lawyer putting out your personal business out there.
That's crazy.
I mean, what? And then it just looks like it ain't true. Of course, all the people that hate Cardi is gonna say she paid everybody. You know, that's the fog. Oh, they must have been paid off. Diddy just won another one of his cases based on a statute of limitation. Of course, we're about to probably hear people that say that's because Diddy got money, so he paid them. No, he won. Okay. Some of you all need to face the fact that even though you don't like the people, they're not always out here doing everything that's they're being accused of. That is the lesson today. She took the witness injury and used it for a lawsuit, struggling lawyer. I was a bodily injury adjuster, and you are correct. Same information, just name, address change. Jules, I know. They will literally, sometimes they put stuff in there that just make you mad in the first paragraph of these doctors. You're like, it's been a couple of, it's like 2 or 3 specific doctors around here that I always cannot wait to depose them. Because the way I'm about to tear you up in this deposition, and then some of them get smart, they get slick. But like Michigan had to make it because it was so bad. Well, I ain't gonna say that's the reason, because there may have been some other rationale. But they have it where unless you are you have to at least be a practicing physician with, a full-time practicing physician with your own, facility and all of that, or working with someone, whatever. But you got to be actually practicing, or you have to be a full, like, teaching somewhere. Because it was people out here ain't practiced in decades, don't teach nowhere, and this is all they did. It's a lick, like $800 to go review some medical records. Then they charge about $2,500 for you to come and do an independent medical examination. That's what they call it. Ain't nothing independent about it. They are literally hired by the insurance company. They go in, get their physicals, and of course, it's almost never pro the person that they have come in there. They can come in with a broken leg and they had surgery, and then they'll say something. If they can't deny the injury, it's just no way they can deny the injury. They'll say things like, it should have been healed 5 weeks ago. Like, usually it only takes 6 weeks for a bone to heal, and it's been 12. So I think at this point, they don't need any more treatment from, they don't need the insurance company to pay for anything else. Like, and then you have to sue them. That's why you sue them all the time, because they use their doctors at, that they have, and then they get to the point where they pick their doctor, they choose them. If I know Dr. So-and-so is always in my darn favor, then I'm picking Dr. So-and-so. That's kind of like how it goes. There are so many ways he could have professionally picked this crap apart, but he chose to be argumentative. He chose to show that he was very, he looked like he losing. That's what I'm saying. Even if you feel like you losing, you ain't supposed to look like it. I don't know. I don't know what to say. No, they're not back yet. You say you must be on Stan Twitter heavy, because I don't know. I don't really be on Twitter like that. I said that I gave everybody my handles except Twitter. But I know that's what they're going to do. I know they always say somebody paid somebody off. Must have been a nice fat envelope. No, did you watch the darn trial? Did you watch the trial? Did you see the facts or the lack thereof? The plaintiff has put on his case. We don't even know. He just alleged 2 or 3 new people. The judge says, okay, Tuesday, we'll let him testify. This is Wednesday, giving them almost an entire week. And he came back and just said they're not available on Tuesday. So I don't know what the court is going to do. If the court is going to go ahead and just make him rest his case, I don't know. Look how much this man got, paying $30K, then $1,800, then $10K for today, over $40K. Oh yes, it's a and he's on the lower end to say $800 an hour to testify, but the plastic surgeon charged $2,000 an hour to testify, because he said him testifying for them 2-3 hours, he missed out on $30,000. That's because if you charging $17,000 for the micro needling, I guess you did probably lose out on $30,000 when you was there. But this doctor, the thing is, even though he doesn't charge, like he charged $500 and something for the initial, then I guess they probably been conferring and consulting with him and sending him over documents. Then he did those psychological exams. Those are all day, and usually they're 2 days. Like when they do what's called neuropsych examinations, they're like 2 days long. So they are pretty lengthy. You spend a lot of time with the person. And so if you're charging like that per hour for those tests, and then the consulting, then the deposition, like you can make you see $30,000-$40,000 you made somebody's salary for the year in one case. And you've been an expert in several cases. He said he's been an expert like over what? 1,200 times or something crazy. You know what? 504 said, I know who would be getting scratched during the break. Y'all are crazy. And I honestly, I can't obviously, I can't guarantee this obviously, because I'm just speculating. That plastic surgeon probably isn't going to pursue getting money from her. Oftentimes, some of these places, they don't, they might sell it off or something to a third party, but I don't think they're gonna, because that's a practice within itself. Like I do know people that represent medical facilities, and that's all they do is sue on their behalf and sue insurance companies who don't pay. But they very rarely go after the individual, because the individual most of the time is uncollectible, so it becomes a waste of money. Sunshine said, "Nah, I don't feel bad for Emani. She tried to embarrass Cardi and get 24 million. Surely she had to think that some of this mess was backfired." All right, sis. You know, I just try to maintain my equality.
It's nothing selective about that.
You said they are about to say, "Baby, come on in, sit down, and shut the door." Is your name? If your name is Sean P. Diddy Combs.
They charge me, but they don't charge him.
What are the statute of limitation for bodily injury in Cali? So she filed it pretty close to the incident. So I'm gonna assume it's 2 to 3 years.
I done the time. That's what you're supposed to do. You want to take this long, that's what you do.
And let's have another witness to call.
Yes, Your Honor, we call Dr. David King.
Thank you.
There go Dr. Pinky.
Wait. Hey, man. A snitch is someone that comply with the government, is bargaining for their freedom when they have done something illegal. A statement, rat, a snitching is it's nothing selective about that. Then,
Thank you. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly state that the testimony you may give in the cause now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? May I please have the seat and spell your first and last name
that's
for the
what you're
record?
supposed to do. You can't take this long. That's what you
G-U-B-A-D, F as in Frank, I-N-K-E.
Perfect, thank you. You may take a seat, please watch your step.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, doctor.
Good afternoon.
What do you do for a living?
I'm an obstetrician and gynecologist
And where are your offices located?
in Beverly Hills at Wilshire and Lapeer.
Is that a medical building?
It is. It's the Beverly Hills Medical Building, I think.
And were you in those offices in February of 2018?
Yes.
And what floor were you on?
The 5th floor?
What floor?
5.
Oh, sorry. And were you ever affiliated with Cedars-Sinai in any way?
I completed my OBGYN residency there in 2010 and then remain on staff. I'm not employed by Cedars, but I'm affiliated. I admit all of my patients to that hospital.
Okay. On the 5th floor of this building in 2018, were there cameras in the hallways outside the office?
No.
And did your office sometimes make special arrangements for celebrity clients for privacy or security purposes?
We do.
And in 2018, did you have an open, well, should I put this, an open office on Saturdays? Did you work on Saturdays?
I worked Saturday office hours for about half a day for around 10 years.
To your knowledge, did anyone else in that building have Saturday office hours?
No.
In February 2018, did that building have a building office?
Yes.
And what floor was that on, if you know?
4.
Okay. And did the building have a receptionist?
Not a receptionist.
Okay. Do you recall an incident in February 2018 where there was an argument with a security guard?
Yes.
Okay. And is that security guard in the courtroom?
Yes.
And could you point her out, please?
Miss Ellis?
Thank you. How did you learn of the incident?
I was in my office, in my office's office, and then heard a lot of yelling. So I immediately got up, ran down the hall, and went out into the hallway.
Do you have a clear memory of what happened next?
Yes.
Any particular reason that you have that clear memory?
It's never happened before.
Okay. And what did you do after you ran down the hall towards the yelling?
As soon as I got into the hallway and realized what was going on, my receptionist was between the plaintiff and the defendant. And there was a lot of yelling, a lot of finger pointing. And at one point, my receptionist was struck, not hard, but I remember it was like on the shoulder kind of thing. I think it was her right shoulder. And there was a phone in the security guard's hand, and the phone kept going back from the ear to point and then back to the ear. And at one point, kind of both hands were kind of flailing, but not closed fists or anything like that. More swatting.
Did your receptionist show you a cut on her forward afterwards?
I believe so. Very minor.
Okay. And what is the receptionist's name who was between Ms. Ellis and Cardi B?
Tiara.
So you see all that, you've gone out, and I'm sorry, where was this? Was this in your office or in the hallway?
The main hallway of the 5th floor, just right outside the elevator.
And you hear yelling, you open the door, you see what you've described. What happened next? Let me ask, what did you do next?
We tried to de-escalate the situation, separate the two, and get our security guard back in the elevator and off the floor.
Do you remember anything that you said in trying to de-escalate?
I remember repeatedly, I was trying to match sort of with body, language, the intensity of it to get across the point that this was not okay. And this is your job.
And who did you address that to?
Ms. Ellis.
Okay. And did she say anything in response?
I don't remember. There was a lot of name calling going back and forth between the two and threats, that type of thing. But my primary objective was to get our security guard back in the elevator and off the floor.
And how did you accomplish that?
Repeating myself over and over and over. And I can't remember if I was holding the elevator door open or I've been trying to think about that. I have no idea. I remember pushing the button if it wasn't, but just to try to get the elevator there and get Ms. Ellis back on it.
Did you come between your receptionist and Cardi B, between them on the one hand and Ms. Ellis?
I think to the side.
Okay. What did you tell her to try and get her to move into the elevator?
To stop and to do your job.
Did you say that repeatedly?
Yes.
Did you say it in a loud voice?
Yes.
And what was she doing when you were saying these things?
Yelling and pointing. I think at that point, there was enough distance between the parties that there was no longer, any gestures that that could be construed as violent.
Okay. And at that point, had the Cardi B and the receptionist gone back into your office?
Yes. As soon as Ms. Ellis stepped back on the elevator, Cardi and Tiara were headed back into my office.
At any point, were you face to face with Ms. Ellis?
Yes.
And can you estimate how close you were?
It was close proximity.
Okay.
Within a foot.
Okay, within a foot of her face.
Mm-hmm.
And
yes.
Sorry. Did you see on her face any scratches?
No.
Did you see on her face any cuts?
None.
Did you see on her face any blood?
No.
Did you see any injury at all on her face that day?
None.
And did you see spit or spittle or any other fluid on her, anywhere on her?
No.
Thank you all.
During the course of this, did you hear Ms. Ellis say something to the effect, and I apologize, I will fuck your shit up?
Yes.
At any time, did you see Cardi B spit on plaintiff?
No.
Did you see her spit on anyone?
No.
Did you see Cardi B take a swing at plaintiff?
No.
Did you see Cardi B hit plaintiff?
No.
Did you see Cardi B scratch or cut plaintiff with her fingernails?
No.
Did you see Cardi B threaten to get plaintiff fired?
No.
Did you hear Cardi B call plaintiff the N-word? And by that, I mean the whole N-I-G-G-E-R.
No.
Did you hear Cardi B call plaintiff fat or poor?
No.
Did you ever see? Did you see plaintiff? I take it you saw plaintiff hit your receptionist. Is that correct?
Yes.
At her deposition, plaintiff testified that she was, quote, just focused on getting downstairs, close quote. Is that consistent with what you saw?
No.
Okay. And why is it not consistent with what you saw?
It took me, I would have guessed 30 to 45 seconds to get her to get back on the elevator.
Okay. After you got plaintiff in the elevator, what did you do next?
Went back into my office.
And did you examine Cardi
I saw her that day, yes.
in a patient room?
Yes.
Okay. And did she have 3-inch nails on her fingers that day?
No.
Okay. And how is it that you know that?
I make a point of looking at people's fingernails. I have no idea why. It sort of lightens the room when you're doing an exam, when you're about to do a pap smear, to say, oh, that's a really cool color. Where'd you get it? I can kind of tell all of the nail trends in the city, because it's bizarre that once you see one type of nail polish, then that next 2 months, everyone has it.
That's so true.
And it would have just stuck out to me.
That's true.
To your knowledge, did Cardi B complain to the building about plaintiff's conduct?
No.
Did you take steps to make the building aware of plaintiff's conduct?
Yes.
And what steps did you take?
I called our practice administrator that day, and given what I had witnessed of the conduct of our security guard when I was out there, I said she needs to go. Then my administrator on Monday morning, I think, took Tiara down and made a statement for the building, and then the building proceeded to do what they did.
Okay, thank you. Those are all the questions I have for you, sir. Thank you.
All right, cross it.
Get ready, Doc. Get ready for the raffle.
Good afternoon, Doc.
Good afternoon.
You're at 8920 Wilshire Boulevard?
Yes.
Are you aware that I'm across the street from your office at 9025 Wilshire Boulevard?
Nope.
When I approached you outside and I wanted to speak with you, is it true that you were unwilling to speak with me? Is that correct?
Yes.
And when the defense wanted to speak with you, you did talk to them, correct?
Yes.
You even prepared a declaration, and you gave them permission to sign it on your behalf.
Yes.
And you are here because you want to testify in favor of your patient, correct?
I'm here because I'm one of 4 people who were in the hallway that day.
Right.
And I'm here to tell you what I saw.
And you've been, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And I'm just flabbergasted by the allegations that don't seem congruent with what I saw that day.
Right. On how many occasions did you speak with the attorneys from the defense?
In person or over the phone?
Combined.
In person once, twice, including today. Over the phone 3 times.
What did you talk about that was so important 3 different times?
They wanted to know what I knew. They wanted to see if they could get a hold of Tiara, who no longer works at our practice. That's the nuts and bolts.
Okay. You are a licensed gynecologist in the state of California since 2007?
Yeah.
And in your field, your specialty deals with below the waist, correct?
Yes.
What is the reason you would think to look at Emani Ellis's face when you have 2 people that are yelling at each other with someone in between? Was there a reason that you were specifically at that time looking at Emani Ellis's face to tell us whether there was a scar, a cut, or anything to her face?
When at that moment, She was closer to the elevator. There probably was about 3-4 feet between the two. And I got between her and them. And the elevator was directly behind her. So I was making direct eye contact to try to be as assertive as I could.
Okay. Isn't it true that you don't remember what you ate a week ago? Fair?
Objection.
This incident happened 2,741 days ago, 7.5 years ago. You agree?
Correct.
In those 7.5 years, did you take any notes of what happened on the day of the incident?
I did not.
So everything you're telling us right now, from 7.5 years ago, is from your memory of what occurred, correct? And having all these conversations with defense counsel maybe help refresh your recollection, correct?
No.
No?
The majority of solidifying it in my brain over all these years is partially because the people who were involved in it, who were there that day in my office, would recount the story from time to time. And it was a very vivid memory and interaction.
When you got there, Tierra Malcolm, your receptionist, was already outside, correct? Okay.
Yes.
Are you aware that Tierra Malcolm and even Cardi B have testified that for 40 to 50 seconds, you and Tierra Malcolm were not there? Are you aware of that?
I would guess it was shorter than that, but if their recollection is 40 to 50 seconds, I mean, as long as it takes me to go down the hallway and out into the hall, the type of yelling that was taking place was alarming. And so it was like, get there right away. I can't give you an exact time frame, but it wasn't more than 40 to 50 seconds.
And aside from Cardi B, do you service other celebrities?
I do.
Many different ones?
Over the years.
And it's your impression, strike that. It's important to you to help Cardi B in this case so you can continue to receive celebrity clients, correct?
It's very important for me
Tell the
to
truth.
tell what happened that day and to ensure that anybody coming to my office,
Are
celebrity or not, doesn't have that type of experience.
Understood. But you had not gotten there until after many things occurred between the two of them, correct?
Sustained.
Earlier, you testified that you saw Emani Ellis hit your receptionist.
Yes.
You remember seeing that?
Yes.
How come your receptionist didn't say that?
Objection. Sustained.
Are you aware that your receptionist who was facing Emani Ellis did not say that?
Objection.
Are you aware of that?
I'm not aware of that.
Did your receptionist ever tell you that Emani Ellis hit her?
Yes, in the recollection of everything back and forth, and then she had a thing on her forehead.
Right.
It was very apparent to me that no hits landed on anybody else except for her.
Okay.
My receptionist.
And your receptionist specifically told you that Emani Ellis hit her, correct?
Scratched
I saw
her.
it.
I understand. But did your
I
receptionist
don't know
tell
that
you?
she remembered it. I mean, I don't. Everyone's adrenaline was kind of elevated. And once, we kind of recounted, there's some background as well. So we had an attorney visited our office a few times in the weeks after the incident, inquiring what happened and various things, leaving a business card. So we talked about it a lot. And I think we both concluded that the only one who was smacked was her.
Did that receptionist make any type of claim against Miss Emani Ellis?
No.
Why not?
Objection calls for speculation.
In your declaration, you state that on one occasion, plaintiff's counsel left a business card. I'm the plaintiff's counsel. Did I leave a business card in your office? Do you know? I withdraw the question. Do you know if I left a business card in your office?
Objection calls for speculation.
Oh,
You personally, I do not. It was a male, dark hair, darker beard. And my a different receptionist got the business card, who wasn't working that particular Saturday. And I think at one point I came out on a different occasion when this person was came to the checkout desk, not the check-in desk, on a different date. And I said, you need to leave.
okay. The declaration that you signed yesterday, have you read it?
It was read to me.
Okay. Can you look at the photograph in front of you?
Could you identify the counsel, please?
Do you see the photograph? I'm sorry, I don't remember the exhibit number, but it's a photograph of Cardi B from the 28th.
Your Honor, it's exhibit 232.
Thank you. Okay, for the record, exhibit 232. You see the photograph?
I do.
Are you aware that this photograph was taken on February 18th of 2024, which was 1 week before the incident? Are you aware of that?
Objection, Your Honor.
Do you know when this photograph was taken?
Objection, Your Honor.
Oh.
No, but it probably was around the time of the incident, I guess.
And now, actually,
He doesn't know the answer.
if you look at the fingernails, since you're a fingernail man, if you look at these fingernails in the photograph, and sorry, I wasn't trying to be rude, I'm just making a joke.
Fine.
The fingernails that are in this picture, are these the same fingernails that Cardi B was wearing when she entered your office on the date of the incident?
I think so.
Oh, see, you never ask a question you don't
Are
know
you sure?
the answer to.
I didn't memorize them, but I know that they weren't 3-inch long with the spear at the end.
But you're not sure if these are the same fingernails, correct?
I believe they are.
Move on, counsel.
Was Cardi B's hair this way when she came to your office, the same way in this photograph here?
Objection, Your Honor.
Was Cardi B dressed this way when she appeared in your office?
Objection, relevance.
Move on. You messed up. You asked a question you didn't know the answer to.
When you came out into the hallway, did you hear Cardi B yelling profanities at Miss Ellis?
Yes.
What were some of the words without going into detail? The F word?
F's and B's and all of it.
So both sides were yelling at each other?
It was an epic yelling match.
Okay. And when you heard this epic yelling match, it was so loud that you heard it while you were inside of your office? Is that correct?
There's an additional hallway in between the main hallway and the office I was sitting in. And all the way at the south side of the building. Yes, took a lot of energy for me to hear it.
When you walked out of your office, you didn't know what areas of the body Miss Emani Ellis was claiming injuries to at the time, correct?
Objection.
I withdraw it.
Just asking a fact.
Do you know what areas of the body Emani Ellis, what areas of her body were injured at the time of the incident?
Objection, argumentative, lacks foundation, contrary to all the evidence in the case.
Did you have a reason to focus on any part of Emani Ellis's body when you came out?
No.
So in your state of mind, when you walked out, you heard lots of screaming, 3 different women doing something, and you were focused at the whole thing, weren't you?
Yes, that was before I asked her to leave multiple times.
Of course.
But face to face.
Right. But when you did come out, you saw 3 different women and your receptionist in between Cardi B and Emani Ellis, correct?
Yes.
And when you were facing that, your focus was not only at Emani Ellis, it was at everybody, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And there was a lot of commotion and yelling and screaming and excitement at that very moment, right?
Correct.
And for how many seconds when you first arrived, how much time passed before Emani Ellis went away?
It seemed like a long time. It probably was 45 seconds.
So in those 45 seconds, did you have a chance to examine Miss Emani Ellis?
I didn't examine her, I looked at her.
Okay. Did you specifically look at her face for some reason?
I was looking directly at her face for at least 20 seconds or so, repeating myself over and over and over.
Right. And when you were doing that, you weren't looking for a scar, were you? Or a cut or any kind of damage to her face? Fair? Do you have any experience in plastic surgery?
Injection development.
Oh. You may answer that.
Define plastic surgery.
You're the doctor.
I do cosmetic procedures on the vagina, the vulva, and I also do microneedling with radiofrequency procedures, CO2 laser ablation of things. I don't do the face.
Understood. So, if there was any damage to Miss Emani Ellis's face, if there was any kind of injury to it, would you have known?
I would assume I would see blood or a big scrape or some physical damage.
And when you were out there and you were between the 3 of them, the 3 women, when you were there, and in those 45 seconds, did you see the cut to your receptionist's face at that time, not later?
No.
You didn't see it?
I never looked directly at her until we were back in the office.
But at that time, it was there, right? During the 45 seconds, it already...
Well, sometimes little scratches like that might not show up for a little bit.
What's a little bit?
Well, if I just scratch my hand like this, I might see it out in the sun, 10 minutes later. From just staring.
What are you talking about?
Okay, so if Emani Ellis got a scratch, she could also develop it 10 minutes later. Fair? You just testified to that. Isn't that true?
That's what your counsel said, that's what he testified to, but I would object, Your Honor. Just here,
All right, why don't we ask what this witness knows about the incident?
When you spoke to defense counsel 3 times, which attorney was it? Was it Mr. Anderson or Mr. Lamb or Ms. Moore?
Over the phone, Ms. Moore.
Every time?
Probably, yes.
And for you to come down here and testify, you had to at least cancel half the day of your work, correct?
I canceled my whole afternoon on a day's notice.
Okay. Are you getting paid to be here?
No.
You should.
Why are you testifying if you're not being paid? Were you subpoenaed?
I was not.
So you came voluntarily?
I did.
And they believed that you would appear here today in court with no subpoena. That's how confident they were that you were here to help us, correct? Any other questions?
Oh, Lord.
When Cardi B came into your office after the incident, what did she tell you?
I apologized. She was more calm than I thought she would be. she didn't complain about the incident or to me afterwards, which I was kind of surprised about as well. I would have been upset if I were the client. And then we proceeded to help her with what she came in for.
Could it be that she didn't apologize because she was the one that assaulted Miss Elliott? Did you
How
have?
about stopping with the could it be's and just ask him what happened, what you saw, what you heard, what you smelled?
Yes, sir.
He doesn't ever like to be wrong. He's one of those.
Can you look at the photograph again?
Oh,
Going
God.
to the 231 or 232. This one.
Objection, ask and answer.
In the photograph, you will see fingernails with some rhinestones on top of them. Do you remember seeing rhinestones on Cardi B's fingernails when she came into your office on the day of the incident?
Objection mischaracterizes the evidence and the photograph.
Yeah, I mean, they were decorative. She was not made up. She was in plain clothing, but the nails were done.
And those rhinestones, were they sharp and pointy?
I think rhinestones in general have rough edges.
And they're sharp and pointy and with rough edges?
On the back, on the front side of the nail, on the top of the nail, they look like they project.
Somebody gotta be a nail
And
tech.
I see that you're wearing glasses. Do you wear them? Were you wearing your glasses at the time of the incident?
I'm 99% sure I wasn't, because up until a couple of years ago, I just wore contacts.
Were you wearing contacts at the time?
Yes.
So there was no vision issues.
No.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris Rogers is you. Doctor, you said that you were one of 4 people in the hallway. So that's you, Cardi B, Miss Malcolm, and the plaintiff.
Correct.
Was there anyone else in the hallway?
No.
Is it correct? Counsel asked you about cuts bleeding. Do cuts and scratches tend to bleed more if they're on the face than if they're on some other part of the body?
Objection calls for expert opinion outside the scope of this witness.
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. Is there a difference in the tendency to bleed if the cut or scratch is on your forehead or cheek than if it's on another part of your body?
The head face is generally, has greater blood flow, smaller blood vessels.
Yeah. As a fingernail guy, have you seen fingernails where the rhinestones are flat? They're actually just little inserts. They look like rhinestones, but they're flat.
Objection calls for speculation.
I have seen objects put into, I would guess it's an acrylic nail, and somewhat buried. I have seen that.
Yeah. Do you have any recollection now, 7.5 years later, whether the rhinestones in that photograph and on Cardi's fingernails were actually 3-dimensional or were flat?
Objection calls for expert opinion.
Expert opinion.
One second.
You guys make sure you hit the like button. We've been here all day. We're going on 7 hours.
No further questions. Thank you.
I already hit part of the marathon. Thank you, doctor.
Thank you. All right, any questions from the jury? All right, please witness be excused.
Thank you.
All right.
That should be it,
All
right?
right, does the defense have any more witnesses to call?
No, Your Honor.
Defense rests?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is plaintiff rest?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, folks, that
It's
concludes the
over.
presentation of evidence. We have some work to do on jury instructions, but there's a number of jury instructions that I can read now. So rather than do those on Tuesday, I'm going to read the set of jury instructions. There will be additional jury instructions read on Tuesday. The order in which I read these instructions is not important. So to the extent that I read some today and some on Tuesday, pay no attention to the fact that they are given at different times. Does not mean that any have any more significant meaning than any of the others. And the parties have stipulated that the jury instructions do not need to be recorded by the court reporter. So at this time, she can stop doing so. All right, and again, I'll read these quickly. They'll be available to you in the jury room. Members of the jury, you have now heard all the evidence and will hear the closing arguments of the attorneys. It is my duty to instruct you on the law that applies to this case. You must follow these instructions as well as those that I previously gave you. You have a copy of my instructions with you when you go to the jury room to deliberate. You must decide what the facts are. You must consider all the evidence and decide what you think happened. You must decide the facts based on the evidence admitted in this trial. Do not allow anything that happens outside this courtroom to affect your decision. Do not talk about this case or the people involved in it with anyone, including family persons living in your household, friends and coworkers, spiritual leaders, advisors, or therapists. Do not do any research on your own or as a group. Do not use dictionaries or other reference materials. These prohibitions on communications and research extend to all forms of electronic communications. Do not use any electronic device or media such as a cell phone, smartphone, TV, computer, tablet, device, the internet. Any internet service, any text or instant messaging service, any internet chat room, blog, or website, including social networking websites, online diaries, to send or receive information to or from anyone about this case or your experience as a juror until after you've been discharged from your jury duty. Do not investigate the case or conduct any experiments. Do not contact anyone to assist you, such as a family accountant, doctor, or lawyer. Do not visit or view the scene of any event involving this case. If you happen to pass by the scene, do not stop or investigate. All jurors must see or hear the same evidence at the same time. Do not read, listen to, or watch any news accounts of this trial. You must not let bias, sympathy, prejudice, or public opinion influence your decision. If you violate any of these prohibitions on communications and research, including prohibitions on electronic communications and research, you may be held in contempt of court or face other sanctions. That means you may have to serve time in jail, pay a fine, or face other punishment for that violation. I will now tell you the law that you must follow to reach your verdict. You must follow the law exactly as I give it to you, even if you disagree with it. If the attorneys have said anything different about what the law means, you must follow what I say. In reaching your verdict, do not guess what I think your verdict should be from something I may have said or done. Pay careful attention to all the instructions that I give you. All the instructions are important because together they state the law that you'll use in this case. You must consider all the instructions together. After you've decided what the facts are, you may find that some of the instructions do not apply. In that case, follow the instructions that do apply and use them together with the facts to reach your verdict. If I repeat any ideas or rules of law during my instructions, that does not mean that these ideas or rules are more important than the others. In addition, the order in which the instructions are given does not make any difference. Most of the instructions are typed. However, some handwritten or typewritten notes may have been added, and some words may have been deleted. Do not discuss or consider why words may have been added or deleted. Please treat all the words the same, no matter what their format. Simply accept the instruction in its final form. You may consider the ability of each party to provide evidence. If a party provided weaker evidence when it could have provided stronger evidence, you may distrust the weaker evidence. You may consider whether one party intentionally concealed or destroyed evidence. If you decide that a party did so, you may decide that the evidence would have been unfavorable to that party. If a party failed to explain or deny evidence against them when they could reasonably have done so based on what they knew, you may consider their failure to explain or deny in evaluating that evidence. It is up to you to decide the meaning and importance of the failure to deny evidence against the party. During the trial, you received deposition testimony that was read from deposition transcripts or shown by video. A deposition is the testimony taken of a person before trial. At a deposition, the person is sworn to tell the truth and is questioned by the attorneys. You must consider the deposition testimony that was presented to you in the same way as you consider testimony given in court. Before trial, each party has the right to ask the other parties to answer written questions. These questions are called interrogatories. The answers are also in writing and given under oath. You must consider the questions and answers that were read to you the same as if the questions and answers had been given in court. A party may offer into evidence any oral